Salute BookTube. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Happy for you to be here. I got a book haul video today. Um, Basically what happened, if you are following my channel, my last video I made, JJ, the bookworm blacksmith, inspired me to make a video about swords and daggers, mostly daggers of the Middle East, of the Arab world. She's a blacksmith. She has a passion for blacksmithing and making swords, really out of nothing. And so I decided to just show all the viewers a glimpse of Middle Eastern daggers and swords. If you had watched the video, you'll see that my initial plan for the video was actually to go. I found out there's a museum, a small museum for Arab swords and daggers where I live. For those of you who don't know, I'm based in the heart of the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates. So there's a small museum, and I thought I'd go there and actually film there and show some footage from there. The website said it was open, so I went, and when I got there I was told that it's closed for renovation. So that was a bit disappointing. It's closed for renovation. The tourist season here where I'm at in the Emirates runs in the winter time, from October to May. The summertime, June, July, August, is it's the dead season. It's very, very hot. And not a lot of tourists, so that's when a lot of museums and hotels and beach clubs and all the rest of it, that's when they close, they renovate. It's usually very slow. So the place was closed. I couldn't film there, couldn't get some footage, but I was able to make a video that I think was well received by JJ and by others. I'm happy to say the response was positive. So that was good. The only thing was I used the books that I found in my library. I found one about Arab and Islamic silver, and the issue with that was that it was focusing on the silver, which is the outside of the daggers, so the cover of the daggers. The actual blade you had to take off. They weren't focusing on the actual metal or the blade. They were focusing on the silver covers. So, but it went well. The other book I showed was Wilfred Thesiger's Arabian Sands, a special edition with photographs and a lot of daggers there as well. So if you're interested, you can watch the video. One example, there was actually one book I found that I didn't know. I missed it. I should have known, and then I just realized after I made the video that I have a book with a cover with a dagger, and it actually shows a dagger. This is by Maggie Davis, and it's called The Sheikh. And there's the dagger right there. We were seeing it with a cover. That's it open. That's the handle, and then the blade is there. That's what it looks like from the inside. So I wish I had showed it in the last video, but I'm showing it here just in case. The Sheikh is an old book. It's really in bad condition, but maybe it has one more read in it. It says the tagline or the subtitle is "A Man with Infinite Wealth, a World of Unlimited Pleasure." And if you read the description, it says the coffers of the Emirate of Rahmani are overflowing with millions of petrodollars. So the old traditionalist emir has decided to send his grandson, Abdullah al-Asmari, to the States to buy a few banks. But the 23-year-old sheikh is unprepared for Hollywood high life, for nymphettes, wild parties, and undiluted decadence. Abdullah comes of age in a dazzlingly lavish new adventure by the author of Rommel's Gold. That's the storyline. Rommel. This is old though. It's first published in Great Britain in 1977. So an older book, but again, the dagger is there. I forgot to show it in the last video, but enough about daggers. The video went well. But when I went to the museum and found out it was closed, I was very disappointed. I was a little bit down. I said, I need a pick-me-up. I need something to enliven my mood. So I said, what could I do? What could I do? And then it hit me. why don't I go book shopping? So that's what I did. I went to a used bookstore and I bought books. I bought a lot of books, too many books. And just to preface this large book haul, which I'll probably divide into many videos, because I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube, maybe I'll link them if I remember. A couple of booktubers are talking about too many book hauls, too many books, too many TBRs. It's a big subject on BookTube. I'm sure you've seen videos. And a lot of people are also saying that there's a lot of booktubers who are just hauling books for viewers, for content and for viewers. Just clickbait, basically. That's not the case with me. This channel is not very professional or clickbaity. In fact, after I posted my not the last video, but the video before it, my naughty books, I actually lost subscribers. But in either case, that's not what I'm doing. The reason why I do a lot of book hauls and I do a lot of book shopping isn't just for content. I do plan to read these books. But why I do it is because where I am at, there's not that many bookstores, not that many English bookstores, not that many bookstores or used bookstores generally. So what I do is I support these small businesses. This is a country of about 10 million people. There's about 3 used bookstores. 4. There's actually 4. So it's not that many, and they're not huge used bookstores. They're very small, very small mom and pop stores sort of thing, and so they need support from as much as possible, and I've befriended many of them, so because of the amount of times that I do go, so it's important, I think, that I go at least, I try to go maybe once a month and just spend some money to support these book shops here where I'm at. So I don't have the luxury of many or large bookstores, used bookstores in English, like in the West, let's say. So that's the reason why I go, but also because I do enjoy book shopping, and it's not all just for supporting the bookshops. I also do, like everybody else on BookTube, I have a problem when it comes to used book shopping. I usually overbuy. Yeah, that's the situation. So I thought I'll show you the books. I've divided them. The books I'm going to show in this part 1 are mostly Middle Eastern based books. Again, okay, we're almost 8 minutes in and I haven't even started, but just a warning that I'm a mostly history reader, so most of my books are non-fiction, but there are a couple of fiction in there, and if you want to change the channel, that's fine, but if you want to continue, we'll get started. The first book I have is by Mohammed Haykal, and it's called The Road to Ramadan. And the subtitle is a big one. It's the inside story of how the Arabs prepared for and almost won the War of October 1973 by the man the Times called one of the greatest journalists of our time. I don't know if that's a blurb or a subtitle, but the War of October 1973 occurred in the holy month of Ramadan in 1973. In 1967, the Israeli army had invaded the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. In 1973, the Egyptians counterattacked and reclaimed the Sinai. And that's what this book is about. He's an Arabic author. So this is just a recounting of that 1973 reclamation of the Suez Peninsula from the Arabic perspective. A famous Arabic reporter, journalist. You'll see some of the figures on the back. That's Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian leader, his successor Anwar Sadat. That's Hafez al-Assad, the former president of Syria. Anyway, very Middle Eastern, but interesting subject. The next book is by Jean P. Sassoon, and it's called The Rape of Kuwait. The subtitle is The True Story of Iraqi Atrocities Against the Civilian Population. This is the 1990 war when Saddam Hussein's Iraqi army invaded Kuwait in in the Persian Gulf area. This happened in 1990. Of course, the Iraqis very quickly invaded Kuwait because it's a very small country. America came in to defend the Kuwaitis and kicked Saddam's army out of Kuwait. Of course, controversially, they did not continue to Baghdad. They kept him in power. There was no regime change. This wasn't the regime change war. This was the war to liberate Kuwait. Jean P. Sassoon, a little bit of a controversial. She's written, I think it's a she. She's written a couple of books about the region, a little bit controversial. She's pretty much a writer for hire in this part of the world. She writes very sympathetically about, she writes sympathetically for whoever pays her, but this book is about Kuwait, the rape of Kuwait, but she has more recent books mostly dealing with women issues in the Middle East. Her book, one of them is called Princess, I think. I have it behind me. Princess, I think it's called, which deals with rich royal Arabian women who are extremely wealthy, but who Jean P. Sassoon live in a gilded cage and don't have, basically dealing with women's rights issues in the Middle East. But this is one of her first books before she got into that, so I'll be interested to read this. The next book is a country that's very much in the news. Just yesterday there was a bombing campaign by Israel against the capital of this country and other targets, and it still hasn't been resolved. It's a very dicey situation. It could get out of control if cooler heads don't prevail. This is by John McHugo, and it's Syria, A Recent History. And this is basically published in quite recently, 2017, so before the regime change. But if we just read a bit of the back cover, it says Syria's descent into the chaos since 2011 has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, while more than 9 million people have fled their homes. In this timely account, John Hugo charts the history of Syria from the First World War to the present and considers Syria's foundation as a nation have proved so. John McHugo charts the history of Syria from the First World War to the present and considers why Syria's foundations as a nation has proved so fragile. So basically a modern history of Syria. The next couple of books actually are books that I found at a new bookstore. I actually went and splurged a bit on a new bookstore. So I went to one used bookstore, I went to a second one, and then there was a new bookstore, a store that sells new books. So I just bought a couple because they had a special offer, like a buy one, get one free. So I wanted to buy this one. It's called Between the Two Rivers, Ancient Mesopotamia and the Birth of History. And the author is Mudhi al-Rashid. She is an honorary fellow at the University of Oxford's Wolfson College, where she specializes in languages and history of ancient Mesopotamia. She is from Saudi Arabia, where she also grew up, and now lives in Oxfordshire with her family. So an academic look at Iraq, Mesopotamia. I think I've mentioned in the comments, people ask me, you're from the Emirates, are you an expat, or are you from the Emirates? I don't think I've mentioned this on video. I'm half from the Emirates, and my other half is from Iraq, so I'm half Iraqi. And if you'll see my bookshelves, one is related to Emirates and Gulf books, and then there's another big bookshelf that's related to Iraq, mostly with other Middle Eastern, modern Middle Eastern. And then I've got which is mostly ancient and medieval Middle Eastern books. So I'm always interested in books that are about either the Gulf or the Emirates or about Iraq. So this one it's a very new. This is from 2025, and I couldn't wait to find it used, so I bought it new. And when I did buy it new, I got a buy one get another free. So I chose this one for the second one, It's called The Attack on the Liberty. The author is James Scott, and the subtitle is The Untold Story of Israel's Deadly 1967 Assault on a U.S. Spy Ship. So this was, I think the best thing I can do is read the back cover. I don't know if I can explain it. On June 8, 1967, an American spy ship, the USS Liberty, eavesdropped on communications off the coast of Egypt. When Israeli fighter jets and reconnaissance planes flew overhead, the Liberty's crew assumed that the ship's identifying markings and American flag would be visible to the pilots in the clear skies above. But after as many as 8 passes over a period of nearly 9 hours, fighter jets suddenly opened fire. When the air attack ended, Israeli torpedo boats appeared and scored a direct hit. 34 crewmen were killed and 171 injured, 2/3 of the crew. Only heroic efforts saved the ship from sinking. Back in Washington, news of the attack on the Liberty was received with shock and outrage. But Israel's stunning victory in the Six-Day War, as it became known, was a source of pride to many American Jews, and their support was crucial to Johnson's administration, LBJ. This is 1967. Which was increasingly mired in Vietnam. The attack on the Liberty was pushed to the back pages of the nation's newspapers and ultimately all but forgotten. It continues, in this riveting book, James Scott, a journalist and the son of a surviving Liberty officer, recounts the story of the horrifying attack and shows how political considerations trumped the demands for justice. Drawing on new interviews and recent declassified documents, the attack on the Liberty is the finest account yet of this tragedy and a remarkable tale of men under fire in an accident or in an incident that remains bitterly disputed more than 40 years later. Interesting. I didn't even know about this. Again, a lot in the news about America's very staunch support of Israel, but it would be interesting to read. We'll change it up now. I have a work of fiction, a translated work of fiction. This is the Automobile Club of Egypt. The author is Ala al-Aswani, and it's translated from the Arabic by Russell Harris. This book is from 2016. Well, the original was 2013 and the translation was 2016. Again, I'll read the back cover better than I can describe it. It says Cairo at the very end of Ottoman rule. So early 20th century. Behind the doors of the Automobile Club of Egypt, Egyptian staff attend to every needs of Cairo's European elite, the way they always have done, it seems. But soon the social upheaval out on the streets will break its way through the club's gilded doors, and its inhabitants above and below stairs must all confront their choices, to live safely without dignity or to fight for their rights and risk everything. Interesting subject matter. This is the European elites the European Westerners were the elite in the Middle East for the longest time. The Ottoman Empire was the sick man of Europe. It was mostly British, but also French, Italians. One can argue Europeans and Westerners still have a very elite status for those Middle East or Europeans who live in the Middle East today. But this book is based in the early 20th century and a work of fiction. I'll be happy to see. It's intriguing that this book has been republished in the early this book was published in the early 21st century, although it deals with events in the early. It was published in the early 21st century, but deals with events in early 20th century. What I mean to say is there or are there parallels, perhaps, with today and 100 years ago? That's what I'll be looking for when I read this. Another work of fiction I have is by Alexander McNabb, and it's called Shimlan, A Deadly Tragedy. Alexander McNabb is actually based here he's a British, I believe he's a Scottish author, but he's based here in the where I'm at in the United Arab Emirates. I have another one of his books called Beirut, and I've seen him at book festivals. I've heard him speak, but I haven't read this book. This is from 2013. I'll read the back cover. It says, after a lifetime of service around the Middle East, retired diplomat Jason Hartmore is dying of cancer. He embarks on a last journey back to Lebanon, where he studied Arabic as a young man at the Middle East Center for Arabic Studies, the infamous British spy school in the village of Shemlan, far up in the hills overlooking Beirut. I don't want to continue the story or continue reading because I'd rather finish this video quickly. But you get the idea. It's a British spy novel based in the Middle East. And it intrigued me because I have an idea of writing about British spies in the Middle East. That's my novel idea, one that I wish I've written but I haven't completed. So I'm happy to find this because it's very similar. And the fact that Alexander McNab is based in the Middle East and he's seen similar, or he has similar subject matter, interest in similar subject matters is interesting. Next, we go back to nonfiction. This is travel writing. This is by Paul Thoreau, and this is Ghost Train to the Eastern Star. I'm sorry about the glare. The subtitle is On the Tracks of the Great Railway Bazaar. I think Paul Thoreau is very famous to most readers, famous travel writer. His very, most, I think, popular, or the book that really made him was called The Great Railway Bazaar. This is basically, he redoes that same trip 30 years later. The infamous trip he did and wrote about and sold millions and millions of copies. This is 30 years later, he does the same trip and sees what's the same, what's changed. I've got a bunch of Paul Thoreau's other books, so I'll add this to my collection. But yeah, travel writing, so that's exciting. There's more travel writing here. This is by Tim McIntosh Smith, and it's Travels with a Tangerine. McIntosh Smith, he's got a book which I have called The Arabs. It's a big book that he just writes the history of the Arabs. He's also got another travel book, I think, called Landfalls. But this is, I think, his most famous, Travels with a Tangerine. He basically follows the route of Ibn Battuta, the famous medieval Islamic and Arabic explorer and traveler, Ibn Battuta, who traveled most of the known world. Ibn Battuta was an aristocratic, a man from an aristocratic family based in Morocco. He decides to do the pilgrimage to Mecca, but his trip to Mecca, he stops all through many points in Africa, and then he gets to Mecca. He continues to the Levant, and then he continues eastwards to Persia, and I think he reaches all the way to China. If we can find the map quickly, maybe it'll show. Okay, there is a map, but it doesn't really give us much. But basically, McIntosh Smith follows Ibn Battuta's path and does it in the 20th century or the 21st century, probably the 20th century. 2004. Sorry, 2001, excuse me, 2001. This paperback is 2004. So basically, the same trip. Okay, Ibn Battuta did his trip from the year 1325, so 700 years later, basically. And then the final book I'll show is probably the find of the day. I was very happy to find this. This is by Michael Korda, and it's Hero. The Life and Legend of Lawrence of Arabia. Again, the glare doesn't really help, but a big hardcover I found. Very happy to find. Lawrence of Arabia is a hero in the West. He's a hero in Britain. But as I was in one of the books I was reading, a hero always has an enemy. A hero always has an enemy, and a hero always has people who disagree with him. If everybody loved the hero, he wouldn't be a hero. He or she would be a saint. And Lawrence of Arabia wasn't a saint. He was a hero, but not a saint. The West, the British, have lifted him up to the position of a hero, but in the Middle East, among Arabic people, his reputation is spotty at best. Of course, there's appreciation because he helped the Arabs to remove the Ottoman yoke and supported Arab nationalist causes. But it turns out Lawrence was he was how do we put this? He had nefarious objectives. Yes, he was helping the Arabs, but he was a British spy first and foremost. There's a photo of Lawrence in Arabic dress. The issue with Lawrence of Arabia was, yes, they helped remove the Turks from the Arab lands, but the British, in a very behind the Arabs' back, made a lot of promises that they did not keep. So they split the Middle East into different nation states. They split half of the Middle East they gave to France, Syria, and Lebanon under French tutelage. The British kept Iraq, and they kept Jordan, and of course they kept the Holy Land. They had made promises to the World Zionist organization and promised them a Jewish homeland in Palestine, most famously. So among the Arabs, Lawrence of Arabia is not the most trust or the most fondly remembered person. But I just wanted to show another photo. This is his sarcophagus, I guess, his coffin, and he's dressed in the Arab garb. I don't know if you requested this, but that's interesting. I don't even know where this is. St. Martin's Church, Warkham, Dorset. Yeah, Lawrence in effigy. So very, very exciting. Very, very excited to have this, and I look forward to reading it. Yeah, that's part one. I think I counted about 40 plus books, closer maybe to 50. But again, like I said, I have to support the bookstores, the local bookstores here, because if I don't, they'll go out of business. I already know one of the bookstores downsized considerably. Another bookstore that existed here, used bookstore, went out of business and are no longer operating. So I want the bookstores to stay here, because then I'll have nowhere to do my book shopping, my beloved book shopping. So I support them, and I try every month to put a bit of money on the side to support them. So yeah, with that, I'll end part one. I'll do part two in the coming days. Until then, book two. Thank you for watching, and salute.